Welcome, strategy gamers, to AoW4. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to this series. Before I get started, a special thank you to anyone who does support the channel, whether it be through Patreon, through the membership link here on YouTube, through merchandise, through my ko-fi.com/DasTactic. Even if you buy the game through the Nexus Game Store, it all really does help. So thank you guys. I very much do appreciate that. Also, just liking and subscribing or interacting with the video also then just helps with the all-important YouTube algorithm. So anyway, let's get into it. We've got this particular video is probably really the start of the tutorial. I mean, this is probably the 7th episode that I've actually recorded. We haven't got into the game yet, really, not in any meaningful way, but this will be the first one. This is going to be really just the way I would suggest that you start a game, if it's your first game, or if you're a beginning player, not your first game. I've already gone through what I suggest you do for your first couple of games, but I'll go through that again in this video as well as we sort of step through it. But this will be really like for how I would suggest you just get used to the game. And so let's just get into it. We're just going to go into new game. Now, if you are new to the game, what I would suggest that you do is, and I've said this, I think in the first episode of this in the playlist here, is to go and play Fields of Rebirth in through here. I'll just get you started so you can sort of see it. Just go select. Keep it on easy. Now, you can't really change it because it's set for that. This is the whole idea, is for you to just get used to the game with this particular one. Now, we're not going to do that for our tutorial because it's a little bit too easy. And then for your faction, if you want to create a faction, by all means go and do it. But I quite like Alfred Elderstone, who has got like a lot of the basic things that you sort of want to have just for a bit of a vanilla start, like it's human after all. It's got some very, very basic sort of ways of playing the game as well. And so I think that's a good one just for you to ease your way into the game. If we go through a few of the other ones, and I forget which ones you get from the very, very start of the game, I don't think you get Eric Rex yet. You certainly don't get any of these. These all came through with the Dragon Dawn DLC. But Alfred, if you're only just starting with the game, Alfred should be at the top of your list, I think. He'll be sort of up the top through here. I'm trying to think who else you end up starting with in here, to be honest. I think we'll just stick with that one because a lot of these get unlocked as the more you actually then go and play the game. And so they will end up sort of showing up through here. And a lot of these are old favourites as well. Like, down the bottom through here, you've got good old Carissa the Red. But I know that you don't start with Carissa the Red. I think you have to play a game with her in it or something like that to actually have her then appear. And a lot of the others as well, like Necron the Risen, and sort of in charge of the death, the death side, Warlock of Islander, the shadow elves essentially. So there's a lot of great stuff in here. But Alfred Elderstone was not part of any of the previous story events, but it is, I think, the most vanilla of the pre-made starts. So you would then go and select that faction. That just takes you straight into the game, and then you'd sort of be off and playing. Now, I'd suggest that with this first one, that you play for probably 10 to 20 turns and just get used to the game. Just experiment with things. You're going to have like a pretty solid army right from the start. The world itself is going to be nice and easy. Read everything, hover over things, read the tooltips to just get a bit of a feel for what actually does happen through here. Now, I've got other videos already that have been done on faction creation and what feudal is. Like choosing the different sorts of forms, how everything sort of does work. These are this is the body trait, and then the mind trait back in through here. So how the humans actually do work, and these are the vanilla humans in the game. You've then also got your various traits that you then sort of get to choose, and they've got chosen unitors and great builder. So just have a read because it'll certainly help you to get a feel for what's going on. Also, in your head, get into the mindset of it's a role play game, or it's not a game where you're trying to min-max things. Just enjoy the story, and I find that the most fun way to play these sorts of games. Anyway, this is going to be just a sort of start of this one here, but just play for maybe 10, 20 turns, and then when you're finished, make sure that you come back out and surrender. Don't just exit, okay? So, or when you can exit, but if you're coming back in, when you're finished with this one, just go to surrender and just go yes. That will then kill off your empire, which is fine. But if you have achieved anything, you will then get some points for it. Now, we haven't done anything at all, so we're not going to get anything through that side. So we've surrendered defeat, turn 1. You can then sort of show the journey. It will then sort of show you what's happened on the map, where you started, etc. So not that anything's going to happen in one turn. The overall ranking as well, so you can sort of see the diplomacy ranking. It's not going to show us anything in this instance, although we do actually have a couple of these. There's the other characters that were actually on there. So we've got a goblin and a tigran were the other two factions that were there. Anyway, that's what we need to really worry about. So we just click on done when we're finished with that one. We then come out. So if you surrender, as I said in, I think, episode 1, you will then come through to the Pantheon. If you do actually have any unlocks, you'll start to be able to choose things in through here, and you'll start to unlock different sort of map modes in through the side as well. So always do surrender, because you will then get the experience in through there. Anyway, we'll just click on done. All right, so that's the first 10 to 20 turns. Just do that. That way you're going to get used to the user interface. You're going to be a bit lost as to what to do in the game, so it's going to be a little bit sort of off-putting with that one through there. Once you've gotten used, though, to just really the user interface, even if you don't really have a good sense of balance for the game, don't treat it as something that you're trying to win at this stage. Just treat it as something that you're just having a look around, and it really doesn't matter if if your armies lose battles or whatever else it might actually be. Just get used to the mechanics of the game in that first little run through. If you go to Valley of Wonders, this should be your next step if you're sort of wanting to just get a bit of a feel for having the game give you a bit of a tutorial. Now, with what I'm doing in here, this is going to be more like selecting a certain element if you're trying to get information about how to do a specific thing. So, most of what it's going to be following from this point forward in this tutorial series will be, how to approach combat, how to look at different things. Very, very particular. So they won't be very long videos, I don't think. Maybe the combat one will, but anyway, I'll go through all the little tips that I can give you about getting the most enjoyment from the game. Anyway, this is a good way to start. This one's got the little book. So it's the Rise of the Godir, Valley of Wonders. It's the only one that's got the little book symbol. Now, I don't think there's any others that do have the book symbol. There may be at different times if different DLCs come in, but this one here is the story, like this is the campaign for the game, and it does ease you in to a very, very nice degree. But if you haven't really just gotten used to the interface, this can also be frustrating. So use this first one just to get used to the interface. Use this one here, Valley of Wonders, just go select. You can actually choose easy, normal, or hard in through this side. Again, if it's your first turns, just keep it on easy. You can hover over these to see what the sort of world it's going to then create for you. The world is still random, but there are story events inside it. So we'll just go to next. And you can see there we can't play as a lot of the draconian style creatures. That's been turned off for this particular one, but we can still pick Alfred Elderstone, and again, I'm just choosing him because it's easy to get used to one type of faction. So we just go and choose him, select faction, and we then come in with an actual story. Now the story will give you some hints as you go, including the backstory of the world. Just go next. So just giving you sort of what actually happened, how everything sort of did work. I won't go through all of this. So it's just talking about the various wizard kings and how things actually sort of then went and worked with it. It may be that you have to play as a hero this first one, actually, I think, rather than as a wizard king. So that may be what's getting turned off there, I think. So Alfred Elderstone, again, exactly the same that we saw there before in the previous one. Starting magic is going to be random from what you have selected or from what's available to you. And you start off with different quests that will then push you along for what the game is suggesting that you actually get used to doing. So battle quest, we need to destroy some units, and we also have to build one farm. And so this is actually like a quest that we then need to go and do. So this one will at least give you a bit of guidance as to how to then go and play the game. So we'll just go through that side. And we can see there, this group in through here, we have to kill this particular group. And we also have to build a farm. Now, if we go and click on the city itself, you'll see it's 3 turns before. Actually, we should be able, no, we can't actually do it. We need to go up one more level with our population here before we can then go and build the farm. So a little way off with that one through there. What I can do though is I can go and do this attack. Now if I just sit and hover over it, you can see it's a low risk battle, but it's still not going to be super easy. Like we're still going to have our work cut out for us. But I won't do these battles, I won't do these sort of quests, but if you just start to play the game, what you'll find is that there'll be quests and information that will actually ease you into the lore of the game and also into different approaches for the game. It's actually really, really well done. I don't tend to play these myself, but from what people have said, they really have enjoyed all the story events that have actually been going through. And it's multiple maps, by the way, as well. So it does sort of extend on through. So if you do like doing the campaigns, then at least this first one will then ease you into the game and give you good information. All right, that's not what we're going to do, though. We're going to surrender yet again, just in case we've get anything at all for the Pantheon. I think I'm only like a handful of things away from reaching the next level in the Pantheon. It doesn't take much to get points, by the way. So I just got to click on Show Journey, done. Oh, I should have shown actually the other characters. Yeah, I'm only 10 points away. Very, very close to getting up to level 37. Anyway, that's okay. We'll just click on done. All right, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be now sort of starting our run through the game. And so we're going to go to Create Realm. And I'm literally just going to keep what's here at this point in time. Now, I've already gone through the different types of maps. So by all means, play with it if you want. But for this one here, I'm just going to go with the most vanilla of the Age of Wonders maps that I can possibly get. I am going to keep it on player distance standard. I'm going to change this one down a little bit just to say 4 players. Again, choose what you like, but that's what I'm going to be having. I'm going to keep the difficulty on normal. I'm just going to go to next. And again, just from the library, I'm just going to choose Alfred Elderstone. Now, again, I've got other videos already done on faction race creation and also leader creation. So you can sort of, if you're wanting to do your own thing, then by all means do that. I'll be talking about principles more than specifics in this tutorial. I'll be very conscious of trying to explain things, but there will be some things that I do need to talk about that will be specific to the tomes that we're using and things like this. For example, we're not going to be playing as the Whiteborn, the undead that we sort of see these guys transform into, just in the back screen through there. So these will actually then transform across into it's a minor transformation. A major transformation then is to turn into undead, so they become like Whiteborn. And we're not going to be doing that with our playthrough. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go down to Alfred Elderstone yet again. I'm just going to click on him, and we're just going to select the faction. Travel to the realm. This is going to be a randomly generated map. Again, all we're playing is just the continents, and everything else is just on vanilla. It still gives you a very, very good fun game. Now I'm playing on normal. If you're unsure, play on turn that on so that you're actually playing on an easier map if you're wanting to. The easy will give you extra units. It will make things a little bit easier for you all the way around. So I'm going to go through what you should do in your first turn. So let's just go through those elements right now. The first thing I'd suggest that you do when you do come into the game like this is really hover over and read pretty much everything when you're just trying to get used to the game. It may seem boring, but there's little things, little tips that will give you. So for example, heal and support your units through the power of the faithful. So this is actually the way that Alfred plays. He plays with the Tome of Faith. And so that's what we end up in through this side. What it does tell us in through here as well is we can sort of see that there's like a little symbol through here. You'll get used to these symbols soon enough, but these are oops, sorry about that, just had someone here. So when you actually hover over these, you'll sort of see that it's got like a little symbol through here. These are what's called affinities, and the affinities will also show up through here. So this is the same affinity back in through this side. We've got 4 Empire Order affinities. The Order affinity is the power that brings structure to the cosmos and to the lives of the mortals, associated with light, faith, justice, and the government of empires. So there's like a collection of 6 affinities that you can mix and match them in any way that you like. There's no, if you go with, for example, chaos and order, you can do that. You can actually have a bit of both in whatever you're doing. So you can see down the bottom there, it says that order affinity is opposed by the chaos affinity. Empires or free cities with opposing affinities will suffer relation penalties. But you can still actually have both in your. It doesn't mean that you can't stop with that one. It does mean that the other cities and the other empires will think less of you if you are ordered and they're chaotic. But in terms of what you do, you can actually mix and match these however you like. So just be aware of that. The assumption is, I think, when you first come into the game, is that if you go with the order affinity, you need to specialize in that, and you really don't. It's good to have a certain amount in a particular affinity, whichever affinity you decide to go with, but really you don't be constrained by that, particularly if you're just playing the game, just trying to get used to it. That's sort of more late game that may sort of have a bit of an impact, but it won't really impact you very much at all. It's better to just go with what you're looking for. Okay, so that's the Tome of Faith. Now, the Tome of Faith will give us certain spells. It'll give us potentially certain units, certain abilities, and so that's what we've actually got at the front. Now, I'll show you when we get into this how you can then start to look at all of these different things. In fact, I might do that when we talk about the tomes in its own video. But in here, just hover over different things, just see what it all means. Like you're going to heal faster on the world map. Adaptable, you're going to get 30% experience when you go into fights. You've got feudal, so structures with food income is sort of what it specialises in. Units benefit from close formations with stand together. Just hover over it. So stand together, units deal plus 20% damage when adjacent to another friendly unit that also has stand together. Now these are just part of your basic units, but you may end up with a hybrid army of different sorts of factions, different races. And if that's the case, it could be even magical creatures that don't actually have stand together. So be aware that these little things, there's a lot of nuance when you actually do play the battles, with how you can sort of just squeeze that little 20% could make a massive difference if you've got units that do have stand together. But that is something that is applied to all of your human factions in through here. You've then got a couple of traits in through here, so chosen unitors. They strive to build a realm based on cooperation and will not hesitate to defend it. So it gains 20% income from vassals, so that would be good for us to get some vassals. We have a plus 10 good alignment, so we're going to be sort of playing more in the good range of things. We've got racial shield units and polearm units have +1 ranks. So whenever we bring in one of our own shield units or polearm units, they're going to be 1 rank higher, and that can pay dividends. It gives them a few different bonuses. Starting bonus is we start with an extra shield unit or polearm unit. So in our army, we're going to then find that they're going to be back in through there as well. Now, is that one? Yes, sorry, chosen unit is. And we have a diplomatic focus, and so we gain +1 whispering stone. I'll talk about those in coming episodes as well. In fact, I'll talk about it briefly here, particularly with this particular start. Then we have great builders. This is the second trait that we actually have. And so they form a society of builders and makers who take pride in the things they construct. So quarries yield +2 gold. Special province improvements cost -50% production. So we can actually go and build the special improvements in our territory, which we'll talk about again later on in other episodes. Starting bonuses, so we've got the capital city starts with the workshop and stone walls. You can see there's like a stone wall around here, which gives us better protection if there's a siege. Sieges don't happen that much in the game, to be honest, but it is useful to have that. It just means that people have to then besiege you before they can actually take over your city, which gives you time to then come back and react with that one. And the workshop is a building that gives us draft and production income. So we start off with those already built in the city itself. All right, so that's actually where we are as a bit of an overview. By the way, the chosen unitors will give us 1 extra of the order affinity. The great builders will give us 1 extra of the empire materium affinity. So we're sort of getting a few little extras in through there. The Tome of Faith gives us 2 of these. So there's still 1 order and 1 nature that has been added in somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where that one would have come in, but that's what we've got. You always start off with 6 ultimately, depending on what you've then sort of chosen. So that's what we actually have for our particular group. We'll just click on the tick in through here. It then goes through. Now there's a collection of different spells that you'll have available, and they come from either the tome that you started with, or there's also another tome that doesn't show, but the feudal tome is another one that we actually started with. And so there's going to be different sort of spells, and we'll just randomly choose 2 of them. So we have an army heal spell. So units in the target army heal 20 hit points. This has to be done not in combat. This is a friendly army spell. So this is actually affects a friendly army, and it uses world map casting points. So this is not an in-battle healing one. This is an out-of-battle healing one. So that's something if we need to quickly get armies healed up, we can use that spell there. Call to Glory is a buff spell. So this is actually going to be something that is done in battle. And so if we hover over buff spell, we'll then sort of see buffs allies in battle, costs some mana and combat casting points in this case. So just have a bit of a read through. Friendly units in 1 hex radius gain 5 morale and become 1 strengthened. So that's just going to sort of boost our forces. Morale is actually quite important in the game, which we'll talk about. There's a lot of there's so many little things in the game. You don't need to focus on it, but just as you become more aware with different things and as you start to ramp up your difficulty, you're going to then find different ways of sort of then looking at the game and playing with the game. Let's just click on OK there. All right, so turn 1, what do we want to do? The thing I like to do at the very, very start is to zoom all the way out and just see where we are on the map. Now, we know that we're playing with continents, so we know that there's going to be water that will then sort of run through somewhere through the map. We don't know exactly but we're basically in the bottom left-hand side or the southwest side of the map. So we're right up against the border here, so we know that we're not going to have enemies attacking from this side, but there's also roads that then lead off, so we can see where the roads go. The roads will often lead to a free city, and we need to make contact with the free cities as soon as possible. Now, if we sort of then just try to, think about where it might likely build the free city, it's probably more likely to build it down in here, because I'm assuming that there's going to be either another enemy up in through here somewhere, in which case they wouldn't have a free city there, or there could be a water that runs through there. Now, there may still be water that runs this way, but they're the 2 different choices that we actually have. So it's just good to sort of know where you are in the world. And so we'll just come back down. As I start to come back in as well, have a bit of a look to see what you've got. Like, for example, over here we've got pastures. This will give us plus 10 food if it becomes inside our city. We've got a food stash in through here, so if we go and grab that, we're going to get a boost of food for the city. This is growth for the city, by the way, so food will then grow the city up. We have an iron deposit back over through there. We don't have any gold deposits or anything that we can sort of see. Quite often you'll start with a few other things around you as well. Now, as we come back in, we can then go through essentially what these over through here. So we can set the production for Kesborough. So we'll just do that one. So Kesborough is the name of our city. If I go and click on this one, and I'll talk about this in more detail later on, but I'll go through the basics of what I would suggest that you do, but also thinking about what we can do. Now, one thing you'll notice is if you have a look at these, we've got these all grayed back. So we could build a farm through there, but see how this is a smaller icon than the farm that's presented up the top here through here. This one here, it's got an equally big mine, a quarry, or a farm. It's not saying build the mine before anything else. It is just saying they're the 3 choices. They're all important choices. Down through here, we've got 3 choices of quarry, a forester, or a farm. And these are all minor choices. We don't get as much benefit. If we go to the farm here, we get plus 5 food. Go to the farm over here, we get plus 5 food. Go to this farm up through here, we get plus 15 food because of that pasture that we saw. And so when you see the bigger icon, that's really what you want to be focusing on. So ultimately, we probably want to get the growth happening, because the more growth we have, the more we can then expand our city. So I tend to focus on that one. And so this one here, we're likely to, when the city does expand in 3 turns' time, we are likely to pick up this farmland in through this side with the pastures. And so that's then going to give our first expansion is going to be with a farm. When we hover over these different things, if I go to the storehouse, for example, we get plus 10 food from these. These are what we build inside the city. So the storehouse gets built inside the city. That gives us plus 10 food as well. Notice down the bottom it says the boost is to build this one is 1 forester. Now, we don't have anything that's boosting anything just yet, but if we hover over and see if anything actually has farm, the stonemason will come if we have 2 farms. Okay, so we're going to get 1 farm here right away. The library is another forester. The clergy commons is a quarry. The blacksmith is 2 quarries. Then we go back down the bottom here. The vendor is a farm. So 1 farm and we can get the vendor. So we don't want to start off by not we get a boost. It just means it's cheaper and faster to build. So we want to, if we can, think ahead a little bit. Don't worry too much if you're not doing that, but we can think ahead and think, okay, well, I can get the vendor in 3 turns. I'm going to get the storehouse in 4 turns. I'm not going to have a forester for quite some time. So let's go and start the storehouse, which will then give me more food, which will then give me more growth. And so basically it's 3 turns until the next population increase, and we're getting plus 49 food per turn at the moment. So 49 food is coming back in. This will give me a bit of a boost. That will then boost what we actually then go and build back in through here. So we're going to go for the storehouse and leave that in there. Now, the other thing I like to start doing as well is to build a bit of an army while I'm in here. So I'm just going to go across and click on this one down through here to recruit unit. And we only start off with our tier 1 units. And I tend to find, as a bit of a rule, even without looking at what army we have, that the archers or ranged units, it's good to get one of them initially. But before we do that, actually, I will just do it anyway, because that is something that I do want to get. You can see there that our peasant pikemen are a little bit cheaper, so that we can get these ones in just 2 turns for 50. There is an upkeep that we have to then pay on these, 8 upkeep for either one of these. Let's just go that way. I tend to build. I don't tend to build the scouts very much, unless I really have a big map and I need to get them scouting around all over the place. But let's just go with the archer. Now, before I did that, what I should have done is clicked on my main army here and just see, actually with what we have, because we ended up with the extra either shield unit or the polearm unit, we end up having, we've got one more slot where an archer would be really, really quite useful in this instance. Okay, so what are we going to now do? The next thing we want to do is go across. We've got the arcane research. I'll just go and click off this other side. The arcane research, and I'll talk about this in detail, is what we're going to then choose from what gets randomly chosen for us. Now, we've got a few different things that are showing up. We've got like an enchanted crow, which will give us +2 vision on the map. We've got staves of mending in through here. So these will just be randomly chosen from the tomes that you've got selected. And so grants enchanted units faithful, which reduces unit upkeep, and mending touch. So staves of mending, this is a unit enchantment for support units in the army. We've got a bannerman there already. And then the signets of knighthood. These grant non-feudal units. So this is actually where, if we do actually have something where I spoke before about the stand together aspect, if we do actually have units that aren't of our faction, this will then allow them to have stand together with the other units, which means we don't have to think about them. So if we bring in an elemental, or if we bring in someone from a different faction, and then they will automatically then have this unit enchantment of the signets of knighthood. Now, these are going to take 7 turns to do, and I do want to start to move through these ones fairly fast. So I'm thinking I'll just go with the Enchanted Crow Companion to get the extra vision range for my scout units. So I'll just go and do that so they can scout a little bit more effectively at the start of the game. I often don't bother with that one, but I don't really care much about the other 2 anyway. It's not a burning desire to grab one of those, so I'm just going to grab that one. And that way we get that one in 4 turns, so that one's now been done. We now have 2 different orders that we have to do back over through here, where we've got the orders. The one is for our scout unit, who can travel quite a distance. Now, I'm probably going to want to have the scout to go off and do all sorts of different things. So let's go and grab the food. Now remember, the food, we had 2 turns from in here. We're getting plus 41 per turn now. It's gone backwards a little bit because we are now no longer, like, there's usually a bit of an offshoot if you don't actually build anything. Some of it goes into food and some of it goes into gold. But in this case, we're now sort of losing that one. But if you go and pick up the food stocks from here, just go and pick it up. We've got 63 food. That was 1 turn worth of food. It's now 2 turns to build the next population increase. So that's sort of what happened in through there. And we just want to stay on the road and just have a bit of a look around. Now, this, when we see a red border, this means that it's actually some sort of area that's going to be unpleasant. But we can see there's little Zs there, or Zs, if you're from the United States, where they're still asleep. Now, I'm just going to keep on sort of running through this. This is just a brigand camp. We'll have to deal with that one soon enough. When we look at the other area, you can see that there's an underground passage that's been showing up. There's a watchtower over there as well, so we'll have a look at that one. So we'll leave that one there. Looks like we've got mountains across the side there. So that's as far as we can move with this particular scout unit. Let's go in the opposite direction now. Now, what you can do if you're wanting to initially is just go and grab individual units just by selecting them and then just right-clicking and getting them to go off and scout in different areas. There's some loot in through there. Now, Alfred is on a horse, so he's going to be able to travel further. So I'm just going to have him go on his own. There's nothing dangerous for the first part of the game. Here's another red area. There's some other stuff, other loot. But what I want to do is I want to try to find a free city if I can. And so we'll just keep on sort of running forward. There's another watchtower down this way. So the main thing we're looking for is free cities. Let's just go back across, just see what else we can find. And so we're not going to be able to attack anything by doing this, but it will then at least just sort of get us spread out so we can start to sort of see. We can't take that one because it's protected. This one here, we just keep on going down through. The evil presence, when we're inside these different areas, we're then going to get information. So this is a brigand camp. It's still asleep at this point in time. This one here, we don't know what it actually is, but there's something else down in this way. We can't see it just yet. And that's pretty much our first turn. That's sort of what I would advise that you do for your first turn in this incredibly good game. Thanks for watching, guys. And I will go through in more detail as to what we're doing as we then play more of the actual game itself. I don't know if I might just, I'll keep on playing now without actually recording it, and then just showing you when specific events come up, and then just doing a bit of a very, as I say, short video content. This was a longish one because we were talking about the whole start of the game, but most of these should be fairly short. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.